Semi-breaking news, Colorado may be playing their spring game against Syracuse. I'll unpack and tell you what I'm talking about here throughout the course of this video. But before we get to that, make sure you are subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel, baby. College football, nothing but college football all year round. Appreciate you being dialed in. So let's set the table a little bit here. Deion Sanders has said that he would love to see Colorado play their spring football game against another opponent. Now, it's worth noting, Colorado's not just playing their spring game on some randomly televised station. They're going to be on ESPN2. So that's a lot of eyeballs. And the On3 Twitter account tweeted out that news from Deion with the quote and saying he'd like to practice against someone for a few days, then have the spring game. And he believes that that would be something the public would be satisfied with tremendously. I don't disagree. Fran Brown, program guy, friend of the show, who was on the hard count, quote tweets the On3 tweet. At Deion Sanders, he says, quote, "We will come to Boulder for 3 days. Dart emoji, orange emoji, praying hands emoji." So if I'm reading the tea leaves here, seems very possible that Colorado could be playing Syracuse in Colorado's spring game. Now, here's what I want to make sure we start with. Those of y'all that have been tuned into this show, this is an idea that has been floated by different coaches. Hugh Freeze floated this idea a couple of years ago and said that he would love to see Auburn play a school like Troy or someone else in the state of Alabama, and then from that spring game, donate the proceeds to a good cause. It'd be a good product, all those things. I have long been on the train that I did not want to see that. Reason why? I believe, having been a part of spring practice, spring is about, one, staying healthy first and foremost. Two, it's about getting a high volume of reps and evaluating your guys. That was previously my stance. Now, since that's been my stance, we've started to see spring games slowly but surely fall off the face of the planet. So if you're telling me my two options are no spring game versus watch Colorado and Syracuse, I'm taking Colorado-Syracuse every single day of the week and multiple times on Saturday. So bring this on is what I'm trying to make sure we say. I also really respect that in the world where everyone seems to be a little bit, it's valid, but everyone seems to be a little bit nervous about poaching and retaining their roster and having their game televised. Deion Sanders and Fran Brown are saying, no, forget all that. Put us playing each other on ESPN2 for everyone to see. Not just are we going to have a spring game that's played and nationally televised. We're going to have our spring game against another team that's nationally televised. So previously, people are worried about another team poaching their players from watching on TV. Neither of these coaches seem worried about the opposing coach poaching the players they're playing against during a spring game, if you are catching what I'm saying here. Give credit to Deion Sanders, too, because in the world of current modern college football, there is, I think, a certain trend in the importance of being visible and being relevant. Like, the more exposure you can get, whether it be social media, whether it be on television, more exposure is always going to be a good thing, especially when it comes to recruiting. Obviously, there's financial dividends as well, but you don't think that maybe the kids that see Deion Sanders in Colorado playing another team on their television in the month of April, when everyone else is either not having one or practicing against themselves, you don't think that might move the needle a little bit? You don't think that'll make the average four-star kid say, oh, that's interesting. I want to maybe take a second look at Colorado. Just the way they do things to their own style, I think, is continuing to pay dividends for Deion Sanders, and I don't think this will be any different if, of course, this ends up happening. Also, credit Fran Brown in the same way for leaning into this opportunity. When we had him on the show, it was very evident that he is, one, not afraid of being authentic. Two, he's a guy that is going to maybe do things his own way and not apologize for that either. The opportunity here for Fran Brown is you have a team in Colorado that is arguably one of the most visible brands in not just college football, but sports, looking for a team to partner with to play their spring game. You don't think that if Syracuse played Colorado, that would give them a different level of exposure than Syracuse football has had previously, at least to a different market? I think that would be tremendous, and I think that would make a whole lot of sense. Now, what I think is important to note here, this is not just a spring game being played against two teams. What Deion Sanders and Fran Brown are speaking to here, they would have a joint practice period of, according to Fran Brown, 3 days of spring football in Boulder. And what I said before, my concern around spring football games and doing this kind of format of, well, I don't know about the volume of reps if we're doing a spring game against another team. Well, if my one offense is out there and someone else's defense from another team is out there, that means my defense is not getting work while my offense is out there. So that was my pushback. But if we're going to go ahead and have 3 days of spring practice together, well, we're probably still getting a lot of volume of reps. That's one part of this. The other part of this, the quality of reps here, there's no way to simulate the intensity of playing an opponent unless you're actually doing it. So are the reps from a volume perspective going to be the exact same as they would be? I mean, maybe not. But having played another opponent, the intensity of those reps, I think that would be something that would be invaluable in a lot of respects. So I think the question now becomes, if this happens, is this our new normal? Is this the answer to spring football games being saved? I hope so. I really do. I think there's a couple of things within this that make this work. I don't know that it'll be the new normal, but I think we could see more of it, if you catch my drift. I think you got to have coaches with rapport. Like Deion Sanders and Fran Brown, I have to imagine there is a gentleman's agreement here. I'm assuming that's in place between Fran Brown and Deion saying, if we do this, we're not going to go poach a guy from Syracuse, and Syracuse is going to go poach a guy from Colorado, unless there's some deal worked out to where, hey, we think this could help you, can't help us, so on and so forth. Let's roll. The other part of this is I think the fact that they're at a similar competition level makes this really, really important. My pushback on Auburn playing a lower level school, like Hugh Freeze kind of talked about at one point in time, is if you're an FCS school or a lower level school and you're playing Auburn on national television and a receiver runs a slant route across the middle and I'm a safety, I have a chance to make a play, again, on national TV against an SEC team, I'm going to throw every fiber of my being through that dude's chest to make a point, to make a play. I'm trying to get a spot for myself in my own depth chart. Like, I'm trying to prove a point in that spot. Both these teams being at a similar level, I think there's going to be a certain degree of taking care of each other here, and I don't think either one is trying to make a statement so much. Of course, you're playing intense because it's against another opponent, but I do think that you'd see a certain level of both these teams taking care of each other. So again, I hope we see more of this, quite frankly, as opposed to no spring games. But overall, man, shout out Fran Brown, shout out Deion Sanders for being willing to do this. I hope this happens. You better believe if and when this happens, we will preview it, we will talk about it, we will watch all of it, and the work they would get through 3 days of spring practice together, the intensity of that, I think, would serve both those teams well and be a good litmus test for how you evaluate your guys against other competition. So let me know in the comment section. Get at me on the socials, Instagram, Twitter, at JD PicKell. Let me know what you think of this. You for it, against it, your thoughts, feelings, concerns, all that, and alike. For Kato on the ones and twos, for myself, JD PicKell, we appreciate y'all. We love y'all. We'll keep this party rolling, and we will see y'all next time.